This changes everything for the Dodgers. We get into exactly what happened last night in Game 1 of the World Series and what this means now for the Dodgers moving forward. Hey, this is Mike Nelson. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Myself and Brad J. We're bringing you everyday Dodger content, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. As you know, the Dodgers had a really rough loss last night, 11-4 in Game 1. In a game where the Dodgers, first inning, as we know, the Blue Jays had a little mini rally, but Blake Snell was able to get through that. You're starting to feel good, like maybe this is going to be a game where the Blue Jays can't hit with runners in scoring position. And then, the Dodgers even take the lead, right? But that is where I think it kind of went wrong, because the Dodgers didn't score enough runs early on, and they had the opportunity to do that, right? Bases loaded with one out, and they're unable to score any runs. Right, the big strikeout. Andy Bacchus striking out on a pitch that was clearly outside, that should have been ball 4 and should have walked or run in. And then Shohei Ohtani coming up with 2 outs and the bags loaded, and he grounds out to first base. And at least in my idea, when I was watching the game last night, when I saw that happen, you could just see the momentum kind of shift over to the Blue Jays at that point, because it was such a big moment, right? The Dodgers could have blown the game completely wide open early on in the second inning, and they failed to do that, right? I mean, that is unfortunately how these baseball games are won and lost. The Dodgers only scored 1 run there in that inning, and they had the opportunity to put up 3-4 runs, right? That, unfortunately, I think was very key. The Dodgers did tack on 1 more run in the third, where, they had, of course, the Freddie Freeman had kind of some tough base running there, getting called out. But that was a big moment, I think, that the Blue Jays really rallied on that, and it kind of kept the game close, right? And then, of course, the Blue Jays tied up with a 2-run homer, and then the wheels came completely flying off in the 6th inning. Just a disastrous inning, 9 runs in that inning. Blake Snell, had a rough night. It was not a good start for Blake Snell, even from the beginning, right? I mean, you could see Blake Snell was a bit wild. He wasn't really in control like he was in the NLCS, right? In his NLCS start, he was very much in control from the beginning, had a great start. And, right from the beginning, you kind of knew, even Joe Davis, our play-by-play guy who's doing the World Series for Fox, said in the first inning, if you guys remember, even if the Blue Jays don't score here, it's a win because they got 30 pitches out of Blake Snell. And he was completely right? I mean, the Blue Jays loaded the bags in the first inning with 2 outs, and Blake Snell was able to pitch that jam and keep the game 0-0 at that point. But they got 30 pitches out of him, right? And I think that was key, because Blake Snell had to work very hard in that first inning. Very hard he had to work. It was a very stressful inning for Blake Snell, with the crowd going crazy, and, just a very tough environment, as we saw all night long, especially once the Blue Jays, kind of took over the game, and leading up to it as well. It was loud, right? The Blue Jays fans stayed strong throughout the game, even when the Dodgers took the lead. But I think it also has to do with that second inning, right? The Dodgers had taken a 4-5-0 lead at that point. I just don't see how the game would have been completely different, right? I mean, I don't know what everybody thinks out there, but if the Dodgers would have took a 4-5-0 lead early on, I don't see how the Blue Jays come back. I think it just would have been way too much momentum on the Dodgers side now. Sure, Blake Snell was not his usual self, and you might say, but they would have got to the bullpen early, Mike, and the same thing would have happened. I don't know. It was a 2-2 game when this happened, when the whole collapse happened, right? It wasn't like this was a 5-0 lead, right? The Dodgers have a 5-0 lead, a 6-0 lead. It just changes everything. It's very hard, I think, for a team to just all of a sudden come back when you're down that many runs, right? It's not that easy, right? It's just not that easy. When it's a 2-0 game, you kind of think, well, you know what? We still got a shot. And that's what the Dodgers, unfortunately, made a mistake doing last night. They let the Blue Jays believe that they still had a shot to come back in the game, and they sure did. They ended up winning the game, right? And that goes because that happened because they did not put the runs up on the board in the second inning when they had the opportunity to put the game completely away, right? In these World Series games, as you can see, this is very, these are the two best teams, quote unquote, right? Because, I mean, I know the Dodgers are the best team out of the National League in my eyes. I don't know if the Blue Jays are. Of course, the Blue Jays are the best team out of the American League. They do win the American League, but on paper, I think it is a bit of a shock that they did make it, right? I mean, I think everybody could kind of agree to that. I don't think anybody, at least I didn't. I did not have the Blue Jays going to the World Series. I thought there was other candidates that were going to put the Blue Jays out, and it didn't happen, right? So I think it is a bit of a surprise that they did make it this far, and they're kind of already playing on house money. And for them to completely wallop the Dodgers in Game 1 is a shock. It has to be a shock. It's a shock to the baseball and sports world because nobody expected the Dodgers to lose this bad in Game 1. Sure, you might have a 5-4 loss, on the road, close game. Walk-off home run in the 8th or 9th inning, whatever. Walk-off in the 9th or go-ahead home run in the 8th, right? This game wasn't even close. Right? It was close for the first, 5-6 innings. And then after that, this was a complete blowout. Embarrassing loss for the Dodgers. And the Dodgers lost this game in the first couple innings, not being able to put the runs through. Bases loaded, one out. You got to score a couple runs there. Got to get at least one. And if I think 2 runs, right? If you got the bases loaded, one out, you got to expect the Dodgers to get a couple runs there, right? And for them to get nothing out of that, I think was so important. It ended up being, the difference, at the end. I think that the difference of the Dodgers not having the lead in the 6th inning with an already taxed Blake Snell, who had gone so deep, had so many pitches, I should say, had, of course, gave up 8 hits, 5 runs charged, 3 walks. It was not a good night. And then, of course, Emmett Sheehan came in and, was just not very good and, whatever. Banda wasn't good. Nobody was really good, right? It was not a good night for the Dodgers bullpen. Luckily, the Dodgers did save Sasaki. Didn't use them, right? Game was not really close. But this is a bit concerning, with the Alex Vesia situation, him attending to his family at this time. You're not going to see him tonight. And, you wonder if you're going to see him on Monday night, right? Because the Dodgers, if he's out for the whole World Series, that's going to be a big blow for the Dodgers. As you can see, the Dodgers are pretty thin when it comes to their bullpen. They don't have a lot of guys that they could trust. Right now, I think it's Sasaki. You trusted Sheehan. I don't know about now, but Sasaki was that guy. Banda hasn't looked too good. Blake Trinan has been inconsistent. And that's about it, right? That's what we got in the bullpen. So we don't really have a lot. Tanner Scott's not on the roster. So, this is it. The Dodgers are going to have to find a way to come back in this World Series. They got to try to win tonight, try to tie up the series, try to make this a long series now, right? Because I do think the Dodgers, they can still win in 5, but it's going to be tough, right? They have to win the next 4 games in a row. And it seems like the Blue Jays want to win this World Series. They're not messing around here. So, got to try to win tonight. Yamamoto gets the ball. The Dodgers had a bad loss. You just wonder how this is going to affect the team moving forward and if momentum is now shifted completely to the Blue Jays. As always, make sure to subscribe. Let's go Dodgers. Woo!